In the imperial capital, a private party hosted by Piña is attended by a group of senators and their families led by Lord Cicero, who, after seeing the Third Recon's weapons demonstrations, realizes the futility of fighting the Japanese and seeks to negotiate for peace. Crown Prince Zorzel, Pia's elder brother, learns of the meeting and rides with his entourage to confront the senators for treason. The prince's approach is detected by Itami's scouts, and the Third Recon assists the senators in escaping undetected before the prince arrives. Mari joins the JSDF team stationed in Akusho, Tokyo's red light district, and uses her nursing training to assist locals who arrive at the outpost. Meanwhile, Yao attempts to learn about Itami's important people from a local, while Itami, Shino, and Akira remain at Pina's palace. Back at the Akusho outpost, Mari is warned by the demi-human prostitutes that an earthshake is on the way. Recognizing it as a sign similar to how animals on Earth can detect earthquakes before they occur, Mutabaru, the commanding officer at the outpost, warns the soldiers in the special region to evacuate the civilians before the earthquake begins. Piña invites Sugawara, Itami, Shino, and Akira to meet with her father the emperor in the imperial palace to advise them on how to handle earthquakes. However, Zorzel arrives to warn his father of another earthquake predicted by his slave Noriko, who is later revealed to Pia and the Japanese delegates as Japanese citizens. Enraged by Zorzel's treatment of Noriko, Itami punches him and saves her. Tayul, Zorzel's other slave, stops Itami and Shino from torturing Zorzel for information about other Japanese captives. Sugawara warns the emperor that there will be repercussions if the kidnapped Japanese citizens are not returned to the Japanese before leaving. The Japanese launched an airstrike on the Imperial Senate building as a further message to make peace. While Tayul is tending to Zorzel's wounds, Diabo learns that their father wishes to make Zorzel his heir because he believes he can easily control Zorzel from the shadows once he abdicates. Meanwhile, Noriko arrives at the JSDF Alnus base, hoping to return to Japan, oblivious to the fact that her parents were killed in the Ginza Incident. Elsewhere, Tuka continues to fruitlessly search for her father. At the imperial capital, Diabo and Piña learn that Zorzel has been officially made heir to the throne and, aware of his father's plans, won't become his father's puppet. Unknown to them, Zorzel is being manipulated by Tayul, who seeks revenge against the Empire and plans its destruction by the JSDF by having Noriko killed and Piña framed for it. Rather than going to the imperial capital with his men, Itami departs with Tuka, Rory, Lele, and Yao in a Humvee with supplies provided by Yanagita. Delilah, the warrior bunny who works at the bar at Alnus refugee town, receives orders from her masters, the formal clan, that she is to assassinate Noriko, which, unknown to her, were actually forged by Tayul, the former queen of her tribe. When General Hazama learns of Itami's quest to the Elba, he organizes a task force to assist him in fighting the fire dragon, and Yanagita and King Duran strike an agreement allowing the JSDF to cross the Elba Kingdom. Delilah tries to murder Noriko, but fails when Yanagita discovers them, resulting in both of them being injured and fighting each other. The JSDF investigates the assassination attempt and learns, with the help of the formal clan, that the formal clan butler forged the letter under orders from Zorzel's faction. To learn more, one of Itami's soldiers, Furuta Hitoshi, goes undercover as a chef in the capital and gains Zorzel's favor. Meanwhile, Itami's party finally reaches Yao's village. While Yao goes to greet her people, Itami and the others are surrounded by a group of dark elf guards, only for the fire dragon to appear. After driving the fire dragon off and meeting the elders of the dark elves, Itami and his group head to the fire dragon's nest in the mountains with a group of dark elf volunteers. With Rory guarding the entrance to the nest, Itami and his group use C4 and magic weapons lying around to detonate a fragmentation bomb beneath the fire dragon's nest, killing the fire dragon by surprise. However, the fire dragon arrives and slaughters the majority of the dark elves. Tuka finally accepts that her father is no longer alive and uses lighting magic to ignite the C4, killing the fire dragon. As the survivors flee the mountain, they discover Rory severely injured after a fight with Giselle, a rival apostle. Giselle reveals that she was the one who woke the fire dragon, causing it to go on the rampage, as she was using the fire dragon's 2 hatchlings to help her patron, the underworld goddess, capture Rory. Hardy. Giselle's dragons chase after Itami and his group, only for the JSDF task force to arrive and kill the dragons, forcing Giselle to retreat. Itami is punished for going AWOL fighting the fire dragon, but is right afterward rewarded by various people for his heroic actions and given a new mission to scout for resources with Lele, Rory, Tuka, and Yao. The group travels to Rondell, where Lele intends to give a presentation to her fellow mages that, if successful, will elevate her to the rank of master, and where they meet Lele's older sister Arpeggio and her mentor Mimosa La Mer. Meanwhile, in the imperial capital, peace talks between Japan and the Empire officially begin, much to Zorzel's chagrin, after the failed assassination attempt on Noriko and framing it on Pina. As everyone rejoices over the fire dragon's demise, the Emperor is pleased to learn that Lele, an imperial citizen, was also involved in the dragon's defeat. However, the Emperor suddenly falls ill after drinking wine, secretly poisoned under Taiyul's orders. With the Emperor bedridden, Zorzel takes over the throne and declares his intent to avenge the Empire's humiliation by the Japanese. With the imperial capital under curfew, the JSDF forces in Akusho are trapped and the Japanese ambassadors are put under house arrest. To Pia's chagrin, Zorzel has arrested the pro-peace faction and his loyal followers are planning an unconventional and unethical attack on the Japanese, while her other brother Diablo has fled to seek help from other, superior forces to overthrow Zorzel. Meanwhile, in Rondell, Mimosa reveals something interesting about the gate to Itami and the others. The gods of the special region would open a portal to another world at Alnus every few centuries or millenniums, through which the races of those worlds would come and settle, explaining why there are so many different types of races living here. At the end of the match, an assassin attempts to kill Lele but is stopped by Gray. Gray and another Rose Knight, Shandy, tell Itami and his group that the assassin was sent by Zorzel because he was jealous of Lele's fame for defeating the flame dragon, and that the two of them came to protect them on Pia's orders. Rather than staying and fighting, Itami decides that they should flee the assassins. As Itami and his group continue to evade Zorzel's killers, Zorzel's secret police continue to arrest the pro-peace faction for treason throughout the capital. Despite this, the Japanese are ordered by their government to not get involved, including refusing sanctuary for the pro-peace faction. Marquis Kaisel seeks refuge with the Thierry family, only for the Oprichnina to attack their home, forcing their daughter Sherry to help Kaisel escape while her parents sacrifice themselves to stop them. Sherry and Kaisel head to the Jade Palace, which has become the Japanese embassy, to seek asylum, as the palace is under the Rose Knight's protection and a treaty prevents the Empire from setting foot there. Despite Sherry hoping Sugawara, whom she sees as her future husband, to help them, Sugawara sticks to his country's orders to not get involved. However, when the Oprichnina arrives and arrests Kaisel and Sherry, Sugawara changes his mind and takes Sherry under his custody, thus starting a brutal battle between the Rose Knights and the Oprichnina. Despite what happened, Vice Minister Shirayuri allows it and contacts her government. The Rose Knights manage to repel the Oprichnina and free Senator Kaisel, but this leads to an escalation of tension between Japan and the Empire. Minister Kanu and other members of the government suggest evacuating the Japanese delegation from the Jade Palace, but Prime Minister Morita refuses to give the green light since representatives from other nations and the media are currently visiting the special region and the Alnus camp, so a demonstration of force or having no control of the situation could have bad diplomatic consequences for Japan. However, Things turn bad rapidly when Zorzel has Piña under arrest for her refusal to order the Rose Knights to let his soldiers enter the palace and orders his army to put the embassy under siege, which finally drives Morita into authorizing the JSDF's deployment to evacuate the ambassadors and political refugees. Meanwhile, in Rondell, Itami and the others manage to neutralize another assassination attempt against them and prepare a plan to capture the Piper, the leader of the assassins sent to kill them. The Imperial Army attempts to break through the embassy are repelled by the Rose Knights, but with the massive difference in numbers, it's just a matter of time until the Jade Palace falls. Meanwhile, in Rondell, Shandy discovers that the Piper is planning another assassination attempt against Lele, so Itami and the others prepare to stop him. As expected, during Lele's presentation, 2 more assassins try to kill her, but they're both thwarted by Itami and the spectators. However, at the final moment, Shandy tries to stab Lele but is saved thanks to the armor under her dress. Interrogated about her betrayal, Shandy reveals that the Piper forced her to kill Lele in order to save Piña, who has been formally accused of high treason. As a result, Itami and the others decide to turn back to the imperial capital, while the JSDF prepare themselves to launch a massive operation against the capital to break the Jade Palace's siege. The JSDF begins their assault at the imperial capital, rescuing the pro-peace faction from prison and the Rose Knights and ambassadors from the Jade Palace. As the JSDF evacuate the refugees, Bozas and Beefeater attempted to rescue Piña from the imperial palace, but are forced to retreat with the evacuating JSDF due to the Imperial Army's numbers. As Itami and his group attempt to reach the capital quickly, Tayo goads Zorzel to continue fighting as he can still employ Piña as a hostage. Itami and the others reach the Imperial capital, where they receive help from the rest of the 3rd Recon to rescue and escape with Piña, Hamilton, and the Emperor. Meanwhile, Piña is dragged into the throne room to be judged by Zorzel for being a traitor, only to be stopped by the arrival of Itami, Lele, and Rory. Despite the fact that Zorzel has a giant ogre fighting them, the ogre is easily defeated, and Zorzel is forced to give up Piña after Itami threatens to kill him if he continues to harm his friends. After rescuing their targets, Itami and the others flee the imperial capital, and the Imperial Army is destroyed by modern weapons. Piña is crowned Crown Princess of the Empire 10 days later in Italia, vowing to bring peace between the Empire and Japan. Itami skips Piña's coronation to attend a Dojin convention, but much to his chagrin, Lele, Tuka, and Rory have followed him, causing a commotion and being taken into police custody. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy this video.